Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejaspanavati Tamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May Brahman protect us all. May he nourish us all. May our study be productive and fruitful. And may this bring peace and concord amongst us all. Om, peace, peace, peace. Peace and concord. The struggle we're going through in today in the world around us. How to find a new kind of harmony, a new kind of unity, a new kind of identity in the world as we're in today with all of the changes and all of the confusion and all of the things we face. And where's the concord? Where is a new kind of harmony, a new kind of sense of unity where we can come together collectively as individuals, which is a very unique thing here in America, individualism. But it's a unique quality, and yet come together with a new kind of concord, a new sense of purpose amongst us all. It's a very rare thing that we're going through in the world today. And the Vedanta claims, makes a big claim that we have the answer. Of course, we have to go, like everything else, through a lot of transitions to own this and to reproduce it for the modern world, because the modern world is in serious trouble, and we're really trying again to find our identity, especially here in America. We're struggling. The rest of the world has its identity well established. One of the great characteristics of America here is that we're always in transition. Periodically we get established and we sort of have our identity collectively, and then we move out of that into a new identity. And today, with the postmodern world and all these changes going on, especially here in America, postmodernism is really a product of America. And if those of you are familiar with it, but what we're facing now is the struggle between the postmodern world in politics, very charged area, and the conventional way in which we've been raised, which is also very healthy. And it's this big transition between these two worlds that Americans especially are facing. Because with this enormous skill we've had in American technology, we've made the world one. It's a global community. It's global, and it's becoming more and more global, and that's healthy. But in this confusion, we don't know yet how to integrate it. We haven't figured out how to bring the world together spiritually, because it's in the spiritual that real harmony takes place. You go back to, in our culture, you go back to India, and any person born and raised in India know the beauty of the chanting and the mantras, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. These beautiful sayings and ideas are very deep and very profound. Here we have our Christian songs. And you go to a Christian church, and I should start memorizing some of these, because they speak to us in a way that we've been raised in. And by the way, I want to thank whoever it is who put up this stained glass window. I don't know if you're here today, or you could be thanked from devotees. It is magnificent, because it captures a quality in America that we've owned through our Protestant, also Catholic tradition, but very much a Protestant tradition too, of stained glass windows. So it kind of speaks to us here in America in a very deep way, because it's very much a part of us. But we as Americans, and America means all of us from whatever cultures we've come, because we're a country of many cultures and peoples, but we're faced with this new kind of identity of individualism. The individual, creativity, the middle class, this genius of creativity that's constantly being spawned, especially here in America, and changing the globe. The whole globe is changing as a consequence. It's all being generated here. But what we need now is a way of spiritualizing it, coming back down to the spiritual, because we've fallen into the secular. We're lost in the secular world today more and more, and we don't have a real, true, postmodern, individualistic spirituality. We don't have it. We don't know what to do. We're at a loss, and we're struggling and trying to resurrect it by going back to old traditions. Old traditions, but they don't work anymore. It's not that they're bad, it's just that with the modernity and this whole world, we can't start to, and that's what this talk is about today. We can't go back, we have to move forward, but we don't know how. Now, Swami Vivekananda introduced this system to the West, Vedic ideas. Vedic ideas are very profound. They're very, very pervasive. And India thought all this through in an incredible way. And the old Vedic rishis of India thought it through in an incredible way. What I mean is that there are pervasive spiritual truths, as we'll see as we go on, pervading all traditions, religious, pervading science, pervading the urge for the urge in the human mind to inquire, to decipher nature around us. It's a whole study of how our human mind, once it's unleashed and freed up, and the existential mind, where's the moral fabric? Where is it? It comes out of our nature itself. It really comes out of us because no matter how crazy we get, we always sense a kind of moral fabric in life. So there's this unfolding of the human condition. And the argument, according to Vedanta and these Vedic ideas, is that there's all unfolding, as we'll see, because today's talk is about evolution taking a stand. Taking a stand. You see, there's been a big quandary in the West about evolution. And we've been beating and kicking it around, and yet we've owned the term. It's everywhere. You take a job, I've got to... we're evolving in science, we're evolving in sociology, we've got a better grasp of this and that. But it's always an evolution from what was before to what it is now. And we're always shifting our minds around and evolving in consciousness, grasping the world in better and better ways. So evolution plays a big role in the modern world, and Vedanta is the one religion, or spirituality, let's say, that takes a stand and affirms and actually owns and embraces this process of evolution. It embraces it enthusiastically. It's one of the core tenets of Vedanta. So that when Vivekananda came to this, it's a core tenet. This is the very part and parcel of the Vedanta philosophy, evolution. When Vivekananda came to this country, he was faced with all sorts of challenges. This was the turn of the last century, 1893 to 1902. He came to this country and died in 1902 after coming to the Parliament of Religions. But what he did was to introduce these Vedic ideas, transformative. And he kept working out different things. But what he kept doing too is referring back to India and to these old Vedic ideas. And there are different systems there that deal with it. But what they all fundamentally say is that evolution is good, it's necessary. What's happening in the world is necessary and healthy. It's just that we have to understand that it's all being driven by the divine. It's all being driven by the spiritual. Anytime you open up to the world, you go into academia or you go into everyday life and you learn and you grow and you adjust to circumstances around you. You take on different jobs, you go to a university, you learn new information. What you're doing is you're growing spiritually, whether you know it or not. You're actually opening your consciousness to the world around you in better and more open and freer ways. So what we get in America is a lot of confusion, but also a lot of freedom. And people free to go out there and express themselves and to learn and grow. And this whole Vedic theme, evolution taking a stand, is that even in our struggles, our secular struggles, we're trying to manifest the divine. You see, all you want to do when you go into your secular struggles is to find more peace. You get a job, you go to university. Why are you doing it? If you go deep enough down into your unconscious, you want more peace. You want more love. You want to be loved. You want to have a good job. You want to earn money. You want to have to exchange. And you want independence. That's really all you want. Now, those are the three core features of Vedanta. that Brahman, or this truth, is ever free, that in your heart and soul, you're ever free. You're omnipresent. Every time you reach out in love, see, you can't reach out in love unless you're an individual. The problems with the world up until now is that if you try to reach out in love as a collective, it turns into a kind of amorphous mass. But if you separate yourself out from it and love and open up and embrace, you grow. You literally expand in consciousness and in your own ability to deal with the world as an individual. Collectively, it was a collectivist society here in America too, where we all blended in to a kind of collective feeling of unity around certain themes and images and symbols and metaphors, the Christ image, or we had jobs in the secular world. But we all move around these themes and attempt to define ourselves in light of those. But what the Vedanta says is behind all of these themes, behind all of this stuff going on, is a reality, our own essence, that's ever free, omnipresent, and unchanging, eternal, immortal. That you're essentially immortal beings. And you're moving through life, adjusting and adapting, trying to manifest that, whether you know it or not. See? Whether you know it or not. But every time you open up to the surrounding world in a better way, a more inclusive way, where you have a good, let's say you go to university and you get a good degree in something. Then you go back out into the world with this degree. You can earn money. You're more intimate with the world. You've got a job. You've got something to share with the world and communicate. And you're more established and secure. It's a very curious thing. So Vedanta says that evolution is taking place within everything inevitably because we're trying to manifest the divine. That's the only reason it's going on. We shift, move, readjust. The whole of creation is going through that. Everything. Everything is adjusting and recreating itself and evolving in order to manifest the divine. So once we understand that this urge, it's called the three gunas and samadhi. We always get ahas. And we open up to life, and suddenly we own something. And you go around the world. You start learning about the world. You fly here and there. And suddenly you start being acquainted with all cultures, and you start discovering that everybody is the same fundamentally. Now that's a big aha from a secular position. Suddenly you realize your heart opens up. That sense of love and intimacy steps beyond being an American to being a global human being, a part of a global community. The infrastructure is growing. But you have to accommodate it to spirituality. Where is the spirituality here? It's in the very act of expansion, of separating yourself out from the collective, reaching out in a new way, and suddenly discovering yourself more informed, stronger, and more established in the truth. So it's driving everything. This reality, this spiritual reality that we talk about, this infinite, undivided, unchanging reality. Now, I can take this theme and go on in all sorts of directions with it. It's really magnificent. Let me read, though. Vivekananda, when he came, he started to develop this system, and he did develop it in a very full way, but now it needs to be unpacked more and more by here in the United States especially. Every act of reaching out, becoming independent, trying to figure something out, and then embracing the new facts, and then coming to a new equilibrium within yourself is a spiritual act. What do you do when you turn to Christ or Krishna? It's in a very extreme way, but you reach out beyond the ordinary. I don't want to be caught in the world anymore. I don't want to live just in the world. I want to find a spiritual truth in my life that changes me, empowers me in the promises, a new, profound way. I want that. I don't want to be profound in science or profound in sociology. It's a cul-de-sac. It doesn't get me where I want to be. There is some mysterious something that's much deeper. And when you go into the church, the Catholic, Christian church, any kind, Protestants, Catholics, whatever, the promise here is that, if you give your life to Jesus, you're going to feel it, and you will. You'll begin to open up into this presence that's there in everything, the Lord, God, however we want to define it. And it starts touching us, and it starts rendering meaning in our life. But you see, the problem is fundamentalism. I have to stay within the church. I have to stay within this community. Don't go out of our community, because if you do, you're going to lose it. Okay? Vedanta says, no, embrace Christ, embrace Krishna, embrace whatever you want. That's your business. But in the process of that transcendental embrace where you step out of the collective and you say, no, I want to participate. I want to take this process of transformation that's going on, evolution, at a new degree. I don't want to just culminate my wisdom, my peace, my freedom as a physicist, as a sociologist, as a pianist, as a guitar player, whatever it may be, as a musician, whatever it may be, economist. That isn't fulfilling me. Go online and go to any of this CNN or any MSNBC or Fox, and you'll get all these anchors who are brilliant people, but they're all unhappy. They're all miserable. And they're all beating up on one another from one subject to another. So they've accomplished things. They're highly accomplished people, but they're full of unrest. They don't have that inner peace. And we're pretty much secular. They've turned away from the spiritual world because they are highly intellectual people, highly sophisticated people, but it's not rendering them peace. So Vedanta says, no, you're going in the wrong direction. It's okay what you've established, but you have to step out, not in order to affirm Christ or Krishna, but to affirm this transcendental urge that's working within you all the time. That's all I want to affirm. And so you step out of the collective into this, and you start affirming. In other words, you break away. You make that freedom, just like you did when you went to a university. I don't want to be ignorant about chemistry or whatever it is. I feel I'm a chemist. So you go to the university, you start studying, and you start learning about chemistry, and there's a joy that comes into your life. Because now you can apply this mysterious thing, and you understand the laws, cause and effect, and things fall away, and you have samadhis, you have insights and openings, and suddenly you own it, and you become a chemist. And it's a wonderful feeling. You've accomplished something. But there's still tremendous unrest in our mind. So you step out and you say, no, the rest comes, the full expression, not through Christ, but by affirming Christ, living for Christ, being in Christ, or Krishna, or whatever it may be. And living in that and starting to intuit that truth behind them. What's going to happen as you commit yourself? All the books say this. I don't have to tell you. You all know it. You've read lots and lots of books on this. But if you commit yourself, you're going to start intuiting God in your life. You will. What they don't say, and what Vedanta says, is that God, that experience of God, that peace, that love, that freedom that comes to you, which will come, and the more you're committed, the better it is. But Vedanta takes it into a scientific context. It says, yes, affirm it. Go ahead. And live for that. But the reason you're accomplishing it is because you are Christ-like. You are that freedom that he speaks about. You are that peace and that love. And by committing to your brother Jesus, who is the Savior in a sense, just like you go to university and you embrace a professor, and the professor informs you as to how to become a good chemist. You come out of there and you have embraced and submitted yourself to that chemist, the professor, and he's taught you how to do it. So you turn to Jesus. You turn to Jesus. I was just told to get back in center here. You turn to Jesus, you turn to Krishna, and you commit yourself. You commit yourself. And you will transform. Your life will transform. But now you're not being asked to narrow the spectrum of your life to a church. You can go anywhere you want. You can go to a Buddhist center. You can go anywhere you want, but stay firm in that relationship you're building and learn more about any religion, because they're all doing the same thing. They're centering you. They're asking you to center your life beyond the phenomenality of this world that holds us down and confines us and leaves us filled with unrest, like our anchors at all these TV programs. Brilliant people. I'm amazed and always humbled when I listen to them, because they have so much information and they're so articulate, but they're enraged. They're all miserable. The world is like that, you see. 10 years in universities, the professors are there, they've accomplished things, but they're not happy. But all Vedanta says is that, yes, there is a movement and an urge, a natural urge to get established in larger levels of consciousness. Because those larger levels of consciousness give us the freedom, the peace, the love that we didn't have before. We're much more integrated. There's no doubt about it. It's not as if it's been a waste. But the real transformation that you're craving is in a relationship with God, with the truth. See? So let me go on. If I just do this, and I never refer to my notes anymore. I don't know what's happened to me. I used to have I'm pouring over all this stuff. What am I going to say? And then I get up here, the heck with the notes. Here's what Ken Wilber said. Ken Wilber is one of the exponents. Some of you, many of you have looked at him maybe you haven't. And if you do, be sure that you're going to be utterly confused when you do. He'll tear at your soul and confuse your mind and wish you'd never even read him, because he is so challenging. But I was stupid with Ken Wilber for about a year and a half. Stupid. I was utterly stupid. I didn't know what I was reading. But I said, I'm going to read this. I'm going to continue. You see, samadhi is a very fascinating process. Patanjali created it. He said that if you review anything over and over again, you'll fall into an organization. If you shift things around, as I did with Ken Wilber, things start to shift around, and suddenly one day you say, oh, I sort of get that. That's good. That's good. Now I've just rearranged things. It's a low samadhi, where I become one with what I'm studying. Okay? But then I've had to review him again, and the mind goes up to more open samadhis, more integrated samadhis. And then where you assimilate the ideas, and then you become fully integrated with the ideas. And then you become totally in balance with the ideas. Look at those anchor people. They're totally in balance with what they have to say. They're so cool. They're so integrated. But it's within, again, a narrow context. But it's this power of balance that they've reviewed their material again and again and again. You've all done it. You all are very, I'm sure, excellent in some field or other. And if we sit down with you in your field and talk, you can out-talk any of us, or you'll find somebody else who's in the same field, and you can carry on very heavy, sophisticated discussions. You've owned it. There is an equilibrium in your mind when you get to the highest level. This is when you're a PhD. Not many people get there, that kind of equilibrium. But anyway, Ken, when I studied Ken, I've had to look at this man again and again, because he's such a giant mind. And I don't mean to dump him on you, but I'm just going to read a little something from him. And then it's beautiful, it's poetic, and it's sort of right. I disagree with some of the things Ken said. I've assimilated my stuff as well, you see. I've had my samadhis, as we all have had samadhis. Are the mystics and sages insane? The mystics and sages, right? Are they insane? Because they all tell variations on the same story, don't they? See, it's all variations of the same beautiful story. The story of awakening one morning, probably after a lot of struggles in our lives, unless we were born with a lot of samskaras and tendencies. So we came into the world like a St. Francis, who threw himself into the world thinking he could enjoy it. And then he just burned out, broke down, fell ill, and then on the other side of that, he became a great mystic. But this one morning, the story of awakening one morning and discovering you are one with the all in a timeless and eternal infinite fashion. It's there, peeking through all of our lives. You know it in your Christian practices or your Hindu practices or whatever practices you've done. You know periodically that speaks to your heart, and you know there's something behind everything. You can intuit it. And it's flashed in all of our minds because we're all part and parcel of that reality. See? Yes, maybe they are crazy, these divine fools. Maybe they are mumbling idiots in the face of the abyss. Maybe they need a nice, understanding therapist. Yes, I'm sure that would help. It would, Because even when you do have these higher samadhis, you've got all sorts of angularities in your mind that you have to undo and unpack. Once you get that intuitive experiences, you have to unpack a great deal of stuff in yourself. So therapy is a wonderful way of unpacking, by the way. So he says, that would help. But then I wonder, maybe the evolutionary sequence really is, and now Vivekananda gives this model of transformation where when we pick up the spiritual practice, we're going to go through these different stages. I'm sure, but then I wonder, maybe the evolutionary sequence really is from matter. See, we're in the material world, we believe in it, we think that's all there is, to body. We pull back into our body and we start saying, no, I'm not just the material world, I'm the body, and I have problems with the world because of it. To mind, dedicate yourself to Jesus, to Krishna, whatever it may be, in your mind, and you're going to start intuiting that. The light will flash in your consciousness, your heart will begin to open up. But the beauty of these spiritual practices is it won't shut down back into the secular world. You won't buy into the secular world. If you keep going through your failings, I assure you, you're going to fail. That's okay. Because on the other side of every failure is ultimately success. And once you get that success, it's yours. They can't take it away from you. Nobody can. So we have to go through a lot of failings. That's understandable. And we have to face ourselves again and again and again as we heal our minds. So maybe the evolutionary sequence really is from matter to body, to mind, to soul, and to spirit. In other words, when you take up this spiritual life, it's an evolutionary process in which you are shifting away from the physical back into the mental, back into the subtle causal body, and then into the spiritual. It's a process, but it's actually something we all go through, the same thing. And that has to be articulated by the Vedanta. Vedanta is magnificent in this way in that it articulates it all, it explains it all. So he says, from matter to mind, body to mind, to soul to spirit, each transcending and including, each with a greater depth and greater consciousness and wider embrace. See, the embrace I was talking about, but you have to step away. You have to step away. And then you have to make space in your life. And in that space of love, because when you step away, you still need love, but now on a larger level. See, we're caught up in the world in terms of love. We have all sorts of affections and relationships. But when you step away, it's not as if now I'm independent and I'm free and I don't need anybody, an Ayn Rand kind of idea, if you know. But anyway, I'm independent and I don't. No, you're stepping out in order to embrace a larger love. See, in this case, not chemistry, not physics, not cooking, whatever it may be. No, I'm stepping out into embrace Jesus, Krishna, Buddha, whatever it may be. And I'm stepping outside of the periphery of my past, but a new element of love, an embrace is taking place. A new level of embrace. Struggle, you're going to struggle. You're going to fight, you're going to fail. But on every side of failure, if you keep going, you're going to eventually succeed and become more established in that higher state. Until it goes all the way down the nervous system, down to your tummy and your solar plexus and your Manipura chakra, where the will is. And when that gets healed, it's touched and it's opened, and you vomit up all sorts of confusion, filth, squalor of the past. Fine, you're part of humanity. Not a big deal. See, Vedanta doesn't emphasize that. You have to heal all of that with the light of the divine. But it's really your own divine light. And that's another approach that I have to go into in another lecture. But the point is, when we go in, we have to face all of these parts of ourselves we don't want to face. And we call ourselves sinner and terrible. Smile every time you fail. And smile every time you witness a part of yourself you don't like. Put your finger in your mouth, as I've said many times, your teeth. And smile. I'm going crazy. Good. I'm terrible. I'm a terrible person. Every therapist knows that's a lot of nonsense. They all sit there quietly because they're like that themselves, and everybody else they interview is like that. We're all nuts and crazy. Never take yourself seriously. Never, never. You're not that big. You're not special at all. So own it and smile through it, and don't take anything seriously. Keep smiling through your failings, because that's the game. Smiles are acts of love and unity. And you may not be loving the world, right, but you're loving yourself. You're loving the moment, see? Whatever it is to get that inside of your system. And don't give way to being a victim, you see? Victimization. I'm so terrible. No. Smile through it. Like I say, do this. It's amazing. I learned this from a professional PhD on the internet, a woman who was a PhD, and she told her, you can't get at the smiling process directly. If you force it, it's not necessarily good that way. But if you do it indirectly and let it sink in, and then let it sink into your nervous system, because you're smiling, you see, without having to force it and fake it. That's a distortion. You can get that smile into your... Vivekananda said, never go outside your room until you're in a good atmosphere. Smile. Never pull the world down around you. Never do that. Everybody is suffering. They're in misery. See, we're carrying heavy weights, all of us. So we need that smile in our whole system. Keep smiling to yourself amidst the failings. That's the secret. Wide embrace. And at the highest reaches of evolution, maybe, just maybe, on individuals' consciousness, and individuals' consciousness does indeed touch infinity. Enough smiling, enough gestures, enough openness, and that the whole causality, we're caught up in our little egos like this, contracted. It opens, until the ego, as Ramakrishna says, it matures. A mature ego. An ego that's open and free and is not caught up in reactivity. We're all struggling for that. See? So it does indeed touch infinity, a total embrace of the entire cosmos. How do you do that? Because you are the entire cosmos. But you come at that slowly. There's no other rational explanation, you see. You can't say, oh, I'm a part of the cosmos and I'm part of the divine. Because once you step into metaphysics, it all breaks down. It all breaks down. Any good metaphysician will walk away from you. Because they want an underlying unity, an underlying truth that explains everything else. And that's the act of science. Science is always trying to find that. So we may say I'm part of it, and that's good. Go ahead with that. But know that ultimately, your ultimate destination is to say, I am that. I am that reality. And coming from a deep part of yourself. So that, oh, joy, you see. Oh, what a joy. I'm free of this contractedness where I'm always acting and reacting. You float through life as a Christ does, as a Krishna does, as a Buddha does. You see, they move through life with ease and love and freedom. So, a cosmic consciousness that is spirit awakened to its own true nature. You are that thou art. See, that's one of the great teachings of Vedanta, the mantras. That thou art, tat tvamasi. You are that reality. You know it. You know it at times. It bursts into consciousness and then you fall away from it naturally. But you know it at times. You sense that there's something very special about me. Very special. That's how we're able to pull ourselves up out of sleep every day and face the world. Because we know there's something special inside of us. A cosmic consciousness that is spirit awakened to its own true nature. It's at least plausible. And tell me, is that story sung by the mystics and sages of the world over any crazier than the scientific materialistic story, which is that the entire sequence is a tale told by an idiot? You see, this whole idea of everything coming out of nothing. Okay, there's an explosion and everything comes into existence, but that's no explanation. We're left with empty. We're left empty. any crazier than scientific materialism story, which is that the entire sequence is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying absolutely nothing? Listen very carefully. Just which of these two stories actually sounds totally insane? Materialism or the real spiritual practice that Ken talks about in Vedanta practices? Because we know that the world is in confusion. Science is a dominant figure in the world today. And so we have to embrace it. And religions are folding, as it were. They're under a lot of, they're caught up in a lot of confusion, all of them, because they don't do what I've been talking about. They don't follow up with the very simple reasoning process that speaks to the human soul in a new way. We had to do it indirectly. But no, it's a here-now thing. Let me read Vivekananda on this. It's our collective destiny. I don't know when it'll become an American phenomenon, but I think this will become, that's a sign of it, where you got your Vedic ideas mixed in with Christian traditional ideas. And it's a very sweet image. And it speaks to a lot of people because we kind of were raised with that. We were raised here in the West. So here's Vivekananda, his message to the West. The modern scientific man will tell you that you can only get the amount of energy. See, the modern scientific man or mind will tell you that you can only get the amount of energy out of a machine which you have previously put into it. Shovel coal into a heating system, and it'll generate activity in terms of machinery and whatnot. Anything you do, you need to put the energy into the machine, and it will produce results. Something cannot be produced out of nothing. It's a very simple, elegant observation that Vivekananda makes. Something cannot be produced out of nothing. If a man is an evolution of the mollusk, which is what we're saying now, then the perfect man, the Buddha man, the Christ person, was involved, caught up in the mollusk. It was there. If we're to talk about the energy emerging into that of a Christ or a Buddha, it's latent there within anything. You can't get, if you're going to deal with evolution and embrace it, you're going to have to acknowledge the fact that there's a potential, a divine potential within nature, and that's what's manifesting, not just the natural world, but the spiritual world. You have to acknowledge that if you're going to be consistent with this idea of evolution. So Vivekananda built a continuity with this kind of an argument. If a man is an evolution of a mollusk, then the perfect man, the Buddha man, the Christ man, was involved in the mollusk. If it is not so, whence comes these gigantic personalities? Where do they come from? How do they come? Now, this is a very scientific approach, you must understand. It's not a metaphor. It's not a myth where we kind of say, well, God did it, and that's okay. It's all right. But if you're going to stay within a scientific framework, then we're asking these questions. If it is not so, whence come these gigantic personalities? Something cannot come out of nothing. Thus, we are in the position of reconciling the scriptures with modern light. That energy which manifests itself slowly through various stages until it becomes the perfect person cannot come out of nothing. It existed somewhere. And if the mollusk or the protoplasm is the first point to which you can trace it, you can actually trace it all the way down to the hydrogen particle, according to John Dobson, beyond space and time. So you could trace the whole thing down to the hydrogen particle. But presently, science can only take it down to the mollusk or protoplasm. And if the mollusk or protoplasm is the first point to which you could trace it, that protoplasm, somehow or other, must have contained the energy. See, pure science. It seems strange. The energy of a Christ. But what is the energy? The energy is not a physical energy. It becomes more and more abstract. more and more universal, more and more inclusive. When you learn chemistry, you're becoming more universal because you're learning the laws of chemistry that apply through everything. See? So you're becoming more and more open and universal to the world around you. So that's it. That protoplasm somehow or other must have contained the energy of what we would call in Vedanta peace, love, and freedom. That absolute reality of peace. And it's been shifting and moving throughout history. And it's called the three gunas. It's another subject. And it's shifting. Nature is shifting and moving, and all these beings are evolving and interacting, but they're all being driven by this underlying spirituality. See? So this is taking a stand on evolution. Taking a stand on evolution. There's a lot more to it, and like I say, it'll be worked out by all of you. But more and more people are talking about this, and it's in the air. I don't think what I'm saying is anything new. Not at all. In fact, you could trace it all the way back to the Greeks in the West. In India, you have Sankhya and you have Patanjali's yoga aphorisms, which are sheer brilliance. That is the brilliant system that will shed enormous light on the modern world. India worked it all out quite amazingly. And Vivekananda saw that and taught it to the West. So we're going through this. So this dual dimension, the struggle between science and religion that's going on right now. If we put it within the spiritual context, it starts to make sense. And if we recognize it as operative within our everyday lives, then we'll see that no matter what we accomplish in the world, it's not enough. We have to step out and start affirming again a divine truth in our lives. But now we're doing it within a metaphysical, within a scientific context. We're doing it within a context that doesn't conflict with our reasoning processes. We know that every time I step out of my confines and relationships and the loves that I have and become for a moment an individual and then take in the new information, which is pure Hegelian. It's actually not Hegel, but he didn't do the thesis, antithesis, and synthesis, apparently. Somebody else did. Fichte, I'm probably not pronouncing his name correctly. But the stepping out of what is into something larger is the process everybody is going through. And especially here in America, like I say, because there's such freedom here. So we have this we have the freedom to do that all the time. But no matter what we do, it's never enough. When you're young, we dream, we hope, we think that somehow if I get, master this, I'll be okay. But it's never enough. Never. It's always another cul-de-sac. There are new mysteries outside of that. Knowing by which everything else can be known. If you get established in that, to some degree, you know something by which everything else can be explained. Oh, known meaning I can explain everything now. Oh, that's what that's about. If you can step into that realm, and then you could see, especially the Vedanta philosophy, how that one reality is driving everything. And we are that. It's a curious thing, the one reality needs a referent point in order to exist. I'll throw a little bit of insanity into this discussion. For us to know that we exist, we have people around us. We have Starbucks, we have theaters, it gives us our identity, you see, as a world. And we have identity culturally, we have social identity, we have our own cars, this, that. We're always referring ourselves to the other. But we are that reality, see. And so what's curious is that reality comes, and I'd have to go into that subject in itself, throws itself into phenomenality through space-time and through hydrogen particles. And these all coalesce the way we're doing right now. We're coalescing. We come together as a community. The whole world coalesces. We marry, all sort of get jobs. It's all coalescing. But it's never enough. The love and the unity we experience is never enough. We always have to step outside of it. And in that outside, where we don't allow the world to define us completely, it's there that we interject a spiritual ideal. And we keep owning it and keep owning it and keep failing. It's a very, you can go to university and learn something. And you know that within 5 years, 10 years, you will be a master of that if you persist. Whatever it may be, piano, whatever it may be. But spiritual life, the whole radical shift in the mind, you may realize it in this life if you've done it in previous lives a lot. If not, you're not starting, but you're continuing a process you've had because you're here now. And there's good reason, because you have an inclination for this kind of abstract system of thought. So you've done practice in the past. So you're building up this momentum. And nothing goes to waste. Nothing is a waste. All the struggles we're going through now are going to be a part of us. See? So don't give up on yourself when you fail. Keep coming back to your practice. Keep stepping outside of the world and the expectations and the causality of the world, space-time, into that spaceless, timeless reality that you are. You know you're that. You know it. It's there everywhere now. Eckhart Tolle, if you go online. Look up Eckhart Tolle, who speaks about, they all speak about it. Buddhism, everywhere, it's all over the place. So you're stepping outside and making that space, and then in that space, stepping outside, and then making the space for God, for truth, whatever it may be for you. And staying in that as much as you can. And it starts to change your life, whether you know it or not. See, whether you know it or not, it'll change your life over time. But what you're doing is indirectly affirming your own nature. That's why you do it. You're crying to express yourself. Just as you go to a university, you cry to express yourself. Self-actualization, Abraham Maslow. I want to be self-actualized. I want to manifest my potential. Go ahead, and you will, and that's good. But it's not enough. So the Vedanta says, no, the potential is there in transcendence. There is who you really are, and that's your real cry. That's the real cry in your soul, my soul, all of our souls. And we can only come to a place of rest within ourselves, only come to that place of rest within ourselves by stepping outside of the collective framework, which has always been the case. Whether you're a chemist or whatever, you've got to step outside of your collective framework and learn something new. And when you dedicate yourself to Christ or Krishna or Buddha or whatever, read the scriptures, keep inspired, keep failing. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. And on the other side, you will eventually own that. It's a much more dramatic process because cause and effect is being attacked at its very core. The very core of cause and effect is being attacked. Because you step into a causeless framework, you're no longer subject to the pains and sufferings and the anxieties and the tensions of the phenomenal world. You step beyond it. Your heart opens up. Your soul opens up. Your solar plexus opens up. This is the mystery of the universe. You are the man and you are the woman. You are the strong man walking in the pride of youth and the old man tottering on crutches. You are in everything. You are everything, O Lord. This is the only solution of the cosmos that satisfies the intellect. In one word, we are born in him, we live in him, and unto him we return. Okay. That's Vivekananda's approach from a devotional side. Because as you dedicate yourself to God, to truth, which is very healthy, very powerful, there comes a point where it dawns on you that somehow you are one with that. It dawns on you. But you've got to move from that position of a relationship, and eventually it'll dawn on you. So this is the genius that Vivekananda offered us, and this whole evolutionary theme, taking a stand on it as Vedantins and embracing it enthusiastically, but it's because it's the core of everything we do. And it literally explains what is going on around us today. It literally explains it. See, it just takes it to a deeper dimension, that's all. Satisfaction is in the world, but it never fulfills it. We're still caught up in space and time. Pains us. We're miserable. Step outside of space and time. Keep looking and owning that reality of Christ, of Krishna, outside of space and time. And then one day you will realize it in your soul, in your solar plexus. And as I always love, the only Christian song I really know, Heavenly Sunshine, Heavenly Sunshine, filling my soul with glory divine. Heavenly, hallelujah, 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 Jesus is mine. Now that is a soul-rendering song that spoke to the Christian communities, you see. Hallelujah, Jesus is mine. That's not a joke. Krishna, when you repeat Krishna's name, hallelujah, that's not a joke. Or Buddha, or any of them. See, it's not a joke. When that person sang that song, and that person created that song, that was out of an incredible state of consciousness. See? Hallelujah. So this is what we're doing, struggling to do. I had some humor here. It's a way of deflecting from your own stupidity, you see. When you're utterly confused, then you just give a joke and it solves the problem. But no, I've gotten better at this stuff. Because I've reviewed it. So the mind moves from putting it together, then assimilating it, and integrating it, and then owning it, and then becoming very, very balanced in it. I'm sort of in between one of those. It's somewhere in there. But I've been looking at this long enough. I don't know anything else in the world. I couldn't get a job out there. I'd be utterly useless. No, you have to get a degree. You have to earn some sort of a degree, and then you. So I won't do these jokes because they're too long. You want to hear them? Yeah. So the dualistic world is about a movie set. You see, they tell us that there's no salvation except for the rest of the cosmos. The implication that there's no salvation for the rest of the cosmos. That we, human beings, are the only ones that can be saved. To heck with the animals, to heck with the plants, to heck with the minerals. Everything is frozen. It's a movie set. It's a big movie set. And God created this for us. And the rest, they're just items on the movie set, you see. They're just things, they're there just to add a little, but we're the star actors, see. They have no soul. Animals have no souls. See, that too hits a lot of people. That's nonsense. It really is. Animals have no souls, and plants, and no higher destiny. The whole universe is but a set decoration. For us, we're the special, and especially for Christians or whatever, we're very special. So, we can summarize it by stories, and I ran across this story of the stork. Now, nobody believes the stork created babies, but you can sort of see the innocence of it. How do we account for the origin of children? Well, there are two theories. The theory of sexual reproduction. Everybody knows that's how it's done. But nevertheless, you could kind of imagine the stork theory. Many believe in the theory of sexual reproduction simply because they've been taught so at school. It's not a good framework, but anyway. However, if sexual reproduction is to be taught, the theory of the stork should be taught as well. And if you're going to it's like evolution today. See? What is the evidence supporting the theory of the stork? Well, it is scientifically established that a stork does exist. Every ornithologist, theologist can verify this. The alleged human fetal development contains several features that the theory of sexual reproduction is unable to explain. The theory of sexual reproduction implies that a child is approximately 9 months old at birth. That is absurd. Everyone knows that a newborn child is newborn. It's like this. When you push into these dualistic theories, it gets gaga. See, everything gets gaga. You don't quite know what's being said. And studies in the Netherlands have indicated a statistical correlation between the birth rate and number of both storks and children. Both are decreasing. Both are decreasing. Theory of the stork can be investigated by rigorous scientific methods, the only assumption being that the stork delivers children. So you're saying, well, but it's like the flat earth theory. So we're now moving into evolution, see, and we have to address it, taking a stand. We, as a religious communities all over the world, are going to have to take a stand on this idea of evolution. And then, of course, the scientific theory is that the Darwin scientists so arrogant they think they no longer need God, so they pick someone to go and tell God that they no longer need him. You've heard this, I think some of you have. So the Darwinist walks up to God and says, God, we've decided we no longer need you. We can clone people and do miraculous things, so it seems as if we've gotten to a point where we could take over. God listens patiently and says, okay, let's have a man-making contest. Darwin happily agreed. The Darwinian happily agrees. God says, now, let's do it in the way I did back in the good old days with Adam. Darwin says, the Darwinian says, sure, no problem. And bends down to grab a handful of dirt. And God says, no, you don't get your own, you have to get your own dirt. Sorry, I told it poorly. You have to get your own dirt. I did that. You go ahead and do that. It's a long process, giving birth to dirt. Something cannot be produced out of nothing, as Vivekananda said. If a man is the evolution of the mollusk, then the perfect man, the Buddha man, the Christ man, was evolved in the mollusk. If it is not so, whence comes these gigantic personalities? Something cannot come out of nothing. Okay? It's very important to keep that in mind. That's the fundamental. So Vivekananda goes, there's a power behind impelling us forward. There is a power behind us all, impelling us forward. It's true. We have this deep sense of transcendence in all of us. It's a craving that we all have. We don't know where to look for the real thing, but love is sending us forward in search of it. See, every time we embrace the world in a larger way, we know we're going in the right direction. But the embrace isn't large enough, that's all. We have to go beyond space-time. Not even love the world. That's dangerous in a way. You could do that, and that's good exercise. But even transcend that to a transcendent love that has no conditions whatsoever. You have that power within you. We all do. Again and again, we discover our mistake. We grasp something and find it slips through our fingers, and then we grasp something else. We're an anchor, a TV program, or whatever it may be. Thus we go on till at last light comes. Because in every light, people turn to God. I don't care what it is. Every lifetime, we turn to God to some degree. So life after life, eventually the light starts to come. The heart starts to open. The nervous system starts to let go. We discover we have the ability to acknowledge this truth. We have this power suddenly. It's a result of many lifetimes of struggle. Thus we go on until at last comes light. We come to God, the only one who loves. His love knows no change and is ever ready to take us in. Ah, heavenly sunshine. Heavenly sunshine. So, Vivekananda says, one star rises, a bigger one comes, and then a still bigger one. And that's what's happening in everybody's life. We open up to life. We open up to life. We open up to life. One star is there. I'm a chemist. It's good. It's not enough. It doesn't answer my problems. I'm miserable. I have relationships that don't work. My wife is leaving me. My husband is leaving me. It's not enough. None of it's enough, see. The sun appeared, and still bigger one, and at last the sun appears. Heavenly sunshine. Oh, filling my soul with Glory divine. Oh, who cares about my husband? This comes first. This comes first. And all the smaller lights vanish. That sun is God. The stars are the lesser loves. See, the lesser loves. When that sun bursts upon one, one becomes mad, what Emerson called a God-intoxicated man. Humans become transfigured into God. Everything is merged in that one ocean of love. Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff, of course. It's Vedanta. It's what Vivekananda taught again and again. So I'm going to end now, because I think that's it. Let me just finish. The Lord is the supreme poet, the first cause. The sovereign ruler, this is Vivekananda. Subtler than the tiniest particle. The support of all. Inconceivable. Bright as the sun. Beyond darkness. Remembering him in this way at the time of death, through devotion and the power of meditation, with your mind completely stilled and your concentration fixed in the center of spiritual awareness, between the eyebrows, you will realize the Supreme Lord. The chakra system, another subject. So, thank you very much. Asatoma Satgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityurmam Amritam Gamaya, Abir Moedi Rudrayakte Dakshinamamukam, Tenamam Painityam. Lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness unto light. Lead us from death to immortality. Reach us through and through ourselves. And evermore protect us by thy sweet, compassionate face. And peace, peace, peace be unto us all and to all living